Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. We can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Well, it's Tuesday. We got a much lighter economic calendar here. I'm a little bit behind, too. Took me a long time to find food to eat. Anyways, let's come and look at the charts. You can see here, Treasuries starting to push back down aggressively. So yesterday, big move up off of that PMI. And then a further move up overnight on European data, some inflation data, etc. Now a move down more recently. I'm not quite sure what's driving this more recent move. There hasn't been any news that I can see. So we'll have to research a little bit more about that in a second. S&P 500 also taking a little bit of a dive yesterday. I don't know. At the time that it happened, it seemed awfully ugly, but when you zoom out, it's not such a big deal. Maybe just a pullback. We'll see. Oil reversing yesterday. Now this one is quite spectacular, really. So the Saudis came in and said that they're going to cut oil production, and like the whole rest of the market like just adjusted for it. And so we've seen like a real collapse in oil prices. That does seem to be kind of relieving the pressure on treasuries somewhat, but less concern about inflation from oil prices, at least. Silver and gold haven't done too much since yesterday. And we come back over here and we look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin took a huge dive yesterday after Binance was charged by the SEC for running an illegal exchange in the United States. And all I have to say is it's about damn time. Oh my gosh. I can't. Law enforcement in the United States on these kind of like financial crime sort of issues is just so slow, and it drives me crazy. Oh yeah, and the dollar. We're gonna go back. What's the dollar? Well, the dollar, after stumbling from that PMI data, is moving higher again here this morning. Good morning, Octavius. The twos. They definitely have been playing around. I mean, you can look at a bunch of different points. It's more like 3.7 in the 10-year, but they've been dancing around this kind of area in the treasuries a lot, haven't they? I thought that I closed this out yesterday. I'll do it right at the 500. That's funny. I'm pretty sure I did close it out yesterday. I don't know why the sim didn't pick it up. Maybe Jigsaw didn't get the message for whatever reason. Okay, so let's check Zero Hedge first, see if we can find. So there's some piece of news that's pushing the treasuries down here this morning. Coinbase crashes after SEC sues crypto exchange. Ooh. Should we pull that up? Pull it up on TradingView. I don't see any new news there. No, I don't want that. Well, it is down overnight pretty bad. Oof, it's down big time overnight. So that was when this decline right here was when Binance got hammered. This has got to be something else. What's with this? Oh, because, okay, a day after SEC sued Binance, the world's largest crypto exchange, Bloomberg reports that Gensler and his anti-crypto goons, oh man, no bias over here at Zero Hedge, have now sued Coinbase in federal court in New York on Tuesday, alleging the crypto firm broke U.S. securities rules, claiming the exchange is acting as an unregistered broker. The regulator alleged that Coinbase, the largest U.S. crypto platform, evaded regulations by letting users trade numerous crypto tokens that were actually unregistered securities. The SEC also accused Coinbase on Tuesday of breaking the agency's rules with its staking service. Coinbase itself said as such in the past, and analysts have been worried for months over the prospect because the broker relies heavily on altcoin trading and staking as sources of revenue and future growth. The exchange revealed in March that the regulator had sent it a so-called Wells notice warning the agency may sue the exchange. Okay, so that's why Coinbase is down. It did not result in, well, maybe it is resulting in a secondary dump in cryptocurrencies. I mean, I kind of just assumed that little move here this morning was just like continuation, but now I realize it is probably because of Coinbase getting sued. So the entire interest rate complex moved down here. Gold moved down, treasuries moved down, 6J moved down. 6J is not quite as correlated as it normally is. And this all started right about the time that this Coinbase news came out. So am I crazy, or are the treasuries moving down because of Coinbase? It seems like a super crazy nonsense theory, but it's the only theory I have at the moment. Oh my gosh. It might make sense if you sit down and you say all of the money that had gone into, if you subscribe to the theory that cryptocurrency has kind of been an outlet valve where excess money in the economy has been going into cryptocurrencies instead of into other assets, further inflating prices, then if that outlet valve is no longer available, you would have more cash awash in the economy, and therefore more inflation and yields would have to rise. So I suppose you could make it make sense. I mean, I suppose we could make sense of that as a theory, but there's got to be another answer. It just seems so silly. I don't know. So the interesting thing about today is that the interesting, I don't know. Something to know about today is that there are a lot of news stories going around. So we don't have a lot of economic data. We don't have a lot of earnings per se or any of that stuff, but news is significantly more. There's significantly more serious news going about today than there usually is for this time of year and for the summer. Okay. So one story that's going is that there was a dam was blown up in Ukraine. So as we had read yesterday, there are some signs that the Ukrainian counteroffensive is beginning. Russia tried to claim that they repelled the attack because there was like one place where they appeared to have had some success at repelling attack. But of course, for Ukraine, this is going to be like a multi-week thing. Okay. So, that's heating up, and now like immediately you see a dam go down. Now, I don't know who did it. Of course, Ukraine is blaming Russia. Russia's blaming Ukraine. Everybody on the West is siding with Ukraine, but there's no proof that I've seen as to who actually did it. But that seems like an escalation. Unsure how serious of a deal that actually is, but that could be a serious escalation. Okay, so that one, keep that on your keep that on your board. Another thing that's going on is this UFO story. I mean, I know it sounds crazy and fantastical, but you had a story yesterday relating to UFOs where one of the I loved watching the Apple event. Yeah, well, and the Apple event was a big one too, right? Because the market seemed to turn lower during the middle of the event. I don't think that investors were impressed with that. We'll go into that one in a second. Let me talk about UFOs first. Oh my gosh. So one of the guys that was tasked with like investigating unidentified aerial phenomena has made a disclosure and or a whistleblowing attempt saying that the United States has recovered ships that are not human made and have fantastical properties and materials and so forth in them. And normally we would be like, well, this is crazy, and maybe something comes from that, maybe it doesn't, because a year or two ago we had that whole thing and then it kind of died down. Well, now it's flaring back up again. But the interesting thing about this one is that this is concerning disclosures that have already been made to Congress. In other words, this guy said this to Congress, and Congress is now investigating it. So this could be one of the most important stories of all time. It could also be nonsense, but this one looks like the real deal to me. So that's kind of crazy. I'm gonna be looking at Northrop Grumman, because if anybody has UFO materials, I think it's them. Okay, man, the treasuries are still selling this. Well, I'll see what the treasuries do here. That's a pretty decent hole there, possibly at 25.5. We'll see if they have the oomph to keep going. I mean, look, that offer is puffing up, so they hit it. This is right about here when the dollar started going higher that this all started shifting. There could be a news story that we're just not hearing yet. Yeah. So let me get this straight. The SEC says Coinbase has operated as an unregistered broker since 2019, yet Coinbase IPO'd in April 2021. So you're telling me that the SEC let an unregistered broker IPO after carrying out due diligence? Well done, Gary. Yeah. They probably shouldn't have let them IPO. Yeah, everything that I just see is Coinbase sued 30 minutes ago. That's all I see. I don't know, but I'm gonna stay out. Oh boy, did you find a inappropriate children's book at Target? Okay, so the Apple event. So yesterday, Apple unveiled their Apple Vision, which was rumored to be this AR headset. Augmented reality headset, with some sort of game-changing use case or something like that. Well, so I think that the rumors were kind of false because it was not an augmented reality headset. It was a virtual reality headset. So it's a virtual reality headset. You can see through it. It's just like with the Oculus, right? There's like cameras on the front, and it can switch over to the cameras from the front. So you're still looking through the glasses, but you're seeing what's around you. And the big game change feature that Apple added is there's a display on the front that will show a digital version of your face so that other people can see what you're if you're looking at something or not. So if you're actually looking at the environment, then it will show your eyes, and if it's not, then it colors over so that they can see if you're looking at things or not. So that was the thing, and it's $3,500 and has a battery pack. So I personally was not too impressed with it, mostly because I am not too impressed with VR as of yet. I think that the VR headset is not that cool. I would, they're saying like, oh, but you get this gigantic 4K screen that covers your whole vision, and you can have like as many screens as you want. And I'm kind of like, I don't care. I would rather have real screens. I would rather actually interact and touch with my environment and so forth. My wife took pictures and sent it to me, and I was like, yo, get that uranium. Probably don't want to take that to work out. Haven't really actually heard too much. Well, so on the cultural front, like Nikki Haley, she had her CNN town hall over the weekend or whatever, and they asked her a question about like defining woke, and she like avoided defining it. I find this one so weird. I see so many people on the left that are like, well, define what woke is. I think the definition of this is very simple. It's a pursuit of equity across all different demographic groups at the expense of meritocracy, logic, reason, and constitutional rights. Why is that such a big deal? I don't get it. Whatever, her response wasn't very strong. Meanwhile, who was it? Tim? What's his name? Tim. He's up there on the board. He was on The View, and they asked him a question about, like what it takes to make it in today, and he was saying that anybody can do what I did. I thought he gave a really, really good response. So I really felt that moved him up the board. Whereas Nikki Haley, they was, should have been in a slam dunk, and she missed. But other than that, I haven't heard too much out there on that front. Mm-hmm. So we did revert back to 25.5 again. I'm deeply suspicious of this market because I'm kind of expecting not too much to happen today. I'm kind of expecting today to be a little bit of a rough day, like. So when you get a no news Tuesday like that, sometimes they can be just so dead. And even though we had that huge initial move down, I don't know what the catalyst for that was, and I don't know if there's really going to drive more volume or not. And it could be like this the whole rest of the week, because next week tomorrow you got trade balance, crude oil inventories, consumer credit, Thursday unemployment claims, final wholesale inventories, natural gas. Like, it's just a very weak, light. For the second week in June, this is extremely light. The week after that, then you get CPI and FOMC and a bunch of other stuff. But this week, extremely light. That makes me less likely to trade. Well, I might be really, so it's funny because we have like a bunch of news stories to talk about, but then it kind of, or no, unless you want to talk about UFOs. So I'm pretty convinced at this point that Northrop Grumman has a spaceship. I'm pretty convinced. Down tick 25.5. That was decent liquidity below us. Maybe the SEC keeps going and they somehow sue Tether. That would be glorious. Oh, what was Larry Summer going on about? Huge thread. Well, I'm glad to see the debt limit crisis in the rearview mirror. The CBO projects budgetary deficits will exceed 7% of GDP and be on an upwards trajectory in a decade from now. For all of the post-financial crisis pre-pandemic period, I feared secular stagnation and opposed fiscal alarmism, but now I am alarmed because we are in new and dangerous territory. Current CBO medium-term deficit projections are twice as large as those when the Simpsons-Bowles process was initiated in 2011 and substantially larger than those faced by the incoming Clinton. Moreover, I am convinced the CBO projection is way over-optimistic on what I regard as reasonable assumptions about the economy and future policy. The deficit will, after a decade, exceed 10% of GDP. This would be by far the worst long-run fiscal outlook in our history. That's just the deficit. The deficit, 10% of GDP. There could be a question of how long the world's greatest debtor can remain its greatest power. My judgment is that short-term treasury yields, which currently exceed 5%, will run well above the CBO's 2.3% assumption over the next decade, especially in light of higher deficits. 1% higher rates adds about 1.2% to the deficit given current debt levels. I doubt all the Trump tax cuts actually phase out in 2025. This could add more than 0.5% to GDP to deficits. There has also been revenue shortfalls so far this year of 1% of annual GDP. Experience suggests such shortfalls are at least in part persistent. The CBO assumption that defense spending as a share of GDP will fall by 20% seems unlikely to me, given ongoing tensions with Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, and the increasing coordination between these adversaries. There is room for argument, and I have discussed about sustainable deficit levels. I know of no one serious who thinks 10% is close to acceptable, so significant adjustment will likely be necessary. Rising defense and interest costs do not really represent a choice by any measure. The size of the dependent aged population is rising. The prices of services the government buys, like health, education, and law enforcement, tend to rise inexorably relative to the rest of the economy. All of this suggests that returning government spending to traditional levels will not be easy. Oh, here comes. We are an undertaxed nation. Raising revenue needs to start with those most able to pay the top 1%, but most likely it cannot end there. Yeah. Everybody needs to be taxed more, says Larry. Did you notice that in that discussion that he had there, that he said that the government spending coming down can't happen? He was like, well, we can't get rid of these discretionary things that, you know, we might be able to make savings here and here. And some of the necessary things like police and so forth is only going to go up. So he's not advocating that government spending get reduced. He's just advocating that we add even more taxes. In what month do you think rate pause will happen? Well, I think it's still incredibly uncertain. So let's come over to the CME group here. So one of the things that's interesting, when we come over to CME FedWatch, we look at the most recent month. Okay, so the current target rate is 5.25, and they are pricing a 75% probability that they will hold. Isn't that interesting? So it was actually higher a month ago. It was significantly lower a week ago, but now it has switched back up. The market seems to believe the next week that they will pause. But then here's where it gets interesting, is that when we come into July, they seems to suggest a 53% probability that they will hike. So they're saying, the market is saying right now that they will pause for 1 month and then hike again, which is not really what everybody was thinking, or at least saying. So make from that what you will. I mean, the thing is this morning interest rates are going higher, but I can't really explain why. Yeah. Jack Prosebiak, I'm sure all the people who were sure they knew who blew up the Nord Stream in the first 24 minutes are totally sure they knew who blew up the Kakhovka Dam. Well, I don't know if you need your tinfoil hat to go find the UFO. I think that we just need the right security clearance. And could be wrong. This guy that's saying stuff to Congress could just be completely full of crap. Could be just, seems like that would be an odd thing for a guy in that position to do, but it's still a possibility. Well, they are sitting there down at the lows, but they're being awfully lackadaisical about it. Like, I'm not seeing the pressure, the increase in level 2 activity, etc., that you see on a break. But when you move down to lows, sometimes it's a buyer's strike and they just go anyways, right? So $372. See that they took an offer. I think probably somebody will hit 23.5, but it hasn't happened yet. There you go. There was probably a bit of stops in there. Good morning. DR Sword Official, that's the new name. Welcome to the stream. Okay, backs off from that. This is, you know, so I'm not sure what's driving the float to the sell side this morning, but like the way that it has behaved here since in the last like what 25 minutes, pretty lackadaisical, just sitting at the low, no real like, you know, they come to the lows, it's not really, they don't really seem to care, there's no excitement about it. That's, you know, at the very least the traders are not chomping at the bit to take it lower. So that is all kind of indicative of a market that is going to go sideways and not be very tradable. Unless there's a headline out there that we don't know about that will continue to drive flows. That means that we might just sit here. I don't know. I got to keep myself talking because I'll start getting upset about things. Russia's Shoigu says for 3 days, Ukraine has launched offensive on different parts of the front. This is going to be, you know, we should probably keep up the Coinbase chart because who knows what this thing does on the open. The issue I see with the Coinbase one is I think that the SEC is doing the right thing, but I'm not entirely sure it will play out courts the way that they want, per se. Not that I'm saying the SEC will lose, because they almost never do, but let's put that in the title. put coin and Coinbase in the title and see what people do. Have you ever traded? You know what? I don't think I've ever actually put an order live or sim into YM before. So, you know, the equity indexes, it's kind of, you know, it's very similar to what we've got here in the treasuries, right? You've got the treasuries and you've got different flavors of them. And most speculators are going to trade in the most liquid one, which is the 10-year over in the treasuries and ES over in the equity indexes. So, yeah. Well, we've traded ES before. I have to say there's a lot more noise over in equity indexes. But if you can catch a trend, it's amazing. Lots of noise, but amazing trends. Why it moves more clean than ES and NQ? So having less of the technology component, at least in the recent past, is probably going to result in a little bit less volatility, maybe, yeah. That's something that we could probably identify statistically. Yeah, well, so yesterday the SEC filed a complaint against Binance. Today they filed a complaint against Coinbase. Right? Coinbase is pushing a little bit lower. It's going to be really interesting to see what it does when the S&P 500 opens. I'm surprised that the Bitcoin is not lower. That Bitcoin didn't get hurt more by this than, yeah. So I'm kind of on, you know, I want to eye this on the open. I want to see what this does on the open. Because I suspect there could be more selling. There could be a little bit of a recovery. We'll see. You know, this is a situation where it can be a little bit hard to predict what the orders will be, at least on that short time frame. You know, long run, it's probably even more people get out. Oh, poor Kathy. Poor Kathy. She got out of Nvidia. I bet you she probably is still holding tons of Coinbase right now, huh? Whoa. What's this? Coinbase simultaneously receives a show cause order from 10 states: Alabama, California, Illinois, Kentucky, Maryland, Vermont, New Jersey, South Carolina, Washington, and Wisconsin. 28 days to cease and desist order, ladies and gents. Whoa. The Alabama Securities Commission announced today that it has issued a show cause order to the crypto asset company Coinbase Incorporated and its parent corporation Coinbase Global. The order gives Coinbase 28 days to show cause why they should not be directed to cease and desist from selling unregistered securities in Alabama. The action is the result of a multi-state task force of 10 state securities regulators. The Alabama show cause order alleges that Coinbase violates security laws by offering its staking rewards program accounts to Alabama residents without a registration to offer or sell these securities. That is indeed a security. So if it's just over their staking service, that is a security. Yeah, that's a big problem for Coinbase. Could maybe be why you're seeing a little bit more an extension of the selling in Coinbase, although, well, it wasn't too big of a move, so I don't know if that's FTX 2.0 is prepared. I mean, it's a good thing. Well, they were trying to make it come back or something, but I don't think that you'll see that anytime soon. Apparently, they're still going to be around. I don't think they're out of business. Didn't they well, I don't know. I don't recall. I seem to remember something about them getting passed around, like people looking at trying to buy it or something. I know. I think that this is some of the worst regulation based news we've seen in cryptocurrencies, and they're handling it fairly well, although one cannot rule out and almost has to expect further selling. So we'll see here in 15 minutes what Coinbase does. That might be a good barometer of where things are at, how people feel. How much of the money in Bitcoin is actually speculators versus money that doesn't actually exist because it was created by Binance. When do you think I should reset the volume profile? End of US cash close date each day? I don't think it matters, Ishmael. So you want to watch the profile as it develops, trying to use previous point of controls, value areas, etc, etc, etc. Don't really do anything. Once it's been more than 45 minutes, the usefulness of the volume is questionable. So it doesn't really matter when you reset the profile. I prefer to do it on the extended session just because that gives me a better idea of what things have been doing, but I'm too lazy to go in and set it. So I just, in Jigsaw, I'm just doing whatever the default is, which I think is things reset when regular session starts. On my chart, so when I do have a volume profile up, I use extended session. Okay, so this asset in crypto at least 70% away from the high. It doesn't matter, right? What matters is what are the future orders. See, that's how that fools you, is they say, oh, well, this is where it is in relation to its past prices, and we're down at the low, so that must mean it's a good buy, right? But what is really your risk reward and your profit is, what are the future orders going to be, right? So here in Coinbase, right? The future orders could be tremendous. I mean, this might be one of the most highest volume events to ever happen in Coinbase. I just want to use it for past liquidity data. Well, yeah, but again, that's the whole thing, is that it takes about 45 minutes for liquidity to heal. So the volume that's traded 6 hours ago doesn't really tell you anything. Well, this market in the cryptocurrencies in particular has been a little bizarre, right? Because I would say it's been largely positive this year, but it's not like it usually is it? It doesn't look like a bull market in cryptocurrency yet. And I think that the threat of future regulation was kind of one of those key things. So we had all of these actions kind of hovering over our heads. The FTX scandal basically said to all of the regulators, okay, you know what? Actually, you do need to do something. And so they started to apply the rules as they should have been applied the whole time. It's not good for Coinbase. We should cover the Howey test again, right? It's an investment of money with expectation of profits based solely on the efforts of other people, right? So if you're investing in a debt instrument that basically lends money out to somebody else for them to use it, which is what staking is essentially, right? That's a security. Now, the good news for the SEC is that one thing that's going to be a fine, that's going to be very harmful to Coinbase's business, because, you know, a lot of their future growth and so forth was based on that stuff. But it doesn't necessarily mean the end of Coinbase. SEC Chair Gensler, crypto compliance builds trust, but business may change. Yeah. We don't need more digital currencies. So Gensler is on CNBC right now. That was a good win by CNBC. What about Pence running against Donald Trump? Okay, so yeah, Pence announced his presidential campaign, didn't he? Forgot about that one. So Pence would normally be like a top front runner, right? Like in any other situation, Pence would be like one of the top two, because former vice president tends to do really, really well in these kinds of contests, right? Especially in the GOP. And because Pence is a pretty conservative, religious guy. I don't know if I explained that. You know, that one of the strongest forces in the Republican Party right now are kind of more of the evangelical Christians. And they often don't feel like that they have a candidate, and Pence would be a very good candidate for them. The problem is that that group also very much liked Trump and felt that Pence betrayed Donald Trump. So Pence is not a very strong frontrunner because his primary audience hates him, right? We knew that he was likely to run. That's why he was already up on my board even before he announced, right? So he's very unlikely to win the nomination because of all of those things. But what he does do is he kind of adds this interesting dynamic into the race, because during the debates, Pence and Trump are almost certainly going to go at it over that issue. You know? That's going to be an interesting dynamic. I don't know if it works to Donald Trump's benefit or not. I mean, I think it probably would not, but we'll have to actually see. But you know, we're in a situation right now where any candidate can come in and have a good moment and raise their profile, right? I think that Tim did so. with his appearance on The View. Nikki Haley had an opportunity to do so when she had her CNN town hall, and I think she flubbed it. You know, Pence could say something. He's not that kind of guy, but he could pull it off. I want Newsmax to moderate the debate. Well, the whole debate thing is interesting too, because Donald Trump is not happy about the debate, about who is being chosen and all of that stuff. And some even predicting that Donald Trump will not attend the debates, which I think would be a bad thing for him. I don't think that move would work very well, because you know, if you say like the debate's unfair, the call is to go into the unfair debate and kill it anyways, you know. Oh, it's gonna be interesting this if we see the two of them debating. Yeah, it's cat turd. I'm all about new technology, but I don't see myself ever wearing Apple dork glasses. Yeah. I don't see the appeal of VR. I really don't. Tried it. I didn't like it. Nick Timmeros, quoting Goldman Sachs, we have cut our judgmental probability that the U.S. economy will enter a recession in the next 12 months back to 25%. Undoing our upward revision to 35% shortly after the SVB failure. SEC's Gensler, tokens are speculative investment vehicles. Wait, what? U.S. Treasury's blacklisted by German state as ESG law takes hold? What? I ain't gotta read that one. This is from a while ago too. So I'm pulling it up here on Bloomberg. Okay. Baden-Württemberg takes a blunt approach that leads to the creation of so-called exclusions list. For an illustration of how wildly different the debate around ESG is in Europe and the US, look no further than the German state of Baden-Württemberg. One of the richest regions in Europe's biggest economy and home of the Mercedes-Benz Group AG as well as Robert Bosch GmbH, adopted a law this year that puts investing sustainably on par with more traditional criteria such as profitability and liquidity. It's a decision that may affect as much as a fifth of the state's 17 billion euros worth of holding as it pivots away from ESG laggards. Few outside Germany paid much attention to the law when it was passed, but it turns out the legislation has international ramifications. That's because the new environmental, social, and good governance filters have resulted in U.S. treasuries ending up on an investing blacklist due to America's failure to ratify a number of treaties in areas including women's rights and controversial weapons. Other nations to be singled out by the policy include Finland, Latvia, and Greece. The bulk of Baden-Württemberg's exclusions impact its equity and corporate portfolios. The law establishes the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the European Union's taxonomy regulation, and the Paris Agreement on climate change as the basis for future investment decisions. Oh, okay. So if you pull back out of the Paris Agreement on climate change, then you can't be invested in either. Yeah. The practical investment implications of the law are limited when it comes to U.S. Treasuries because the German states' holdings weren't significant to start with. In fact, German holdings of U.S. Treasuries overall account for a tiny fraction of the market, or just 85 billion of the 24 trillion in outstanding debt. According to the latest data, there's little to indicate that investors' ESG considerations in general have left any kind of dent on the U.S. Treasury market. That is so crazy. Okay, here we go. Looks like the initial move here in Coinbase is a buy. Controversial opinion, German government hates traders. Well, you would know, but you guys would know better than me. There's all sorts of, yeah, you can't keep up with what's going on in Germany. I feel. American media is not very good reporting on that. Okay, so the initial move that we get in the equity indexes is a sell, but Coinbase did a little bit of a reversal. And, well, I am seeing price changing, not as much as I would thought. I would think that I would be seeing these prices change like quite dramatically. But maybe I only get updates every 5 seconds or something. I don't know. Because for a second there was like, did they get halted? But I don't think that actually did happen. Ouch. This is S&P meaningfully below 4270. A former executive at TikTok's parent company ByteDance alleged in a court filing that Chinese Communist Party officials accessed data of Hong Kong civil rights activists that used to TikTok, according to reports. I'm surprised that anybody that was a Hong Kong civil rights activist would be dumb enough to use TikTok, but okay. Here's from the street. Apple's new headset looks incredible, but here's why Meta is still in the game. Meta is leaning more heavily into the gaming sector. Yeah, good luck with that. You know what I think could be an interesting dynamic with the Apple headset thing. Of course, I'm not hot on the VR thing in general. I'm just not impressed with it. Apple has a very expensive headset compared to the Oculus Rift. Okay, that matters. There's one of these things where it's like, with as it was with cell phones, there's a certain point where it gets nice enough, and then all of a sudden, all of the power is unlocked and people like it. Right? That's the way they work with cell phones. I'm not so sure it happens that way with VR. Okay, but one of the interesting things that Apple is doing is that they have teamed up with Unity to do a lot of their their built-in applications and their 3D stuff, right? So the leader in the 3D engine space is Epic Games. But Epic Games has had a long outstanding feud with Apple because Apple will not allow Epic to run its own game store, essentially. And they want a cut of the game store, and Epic doesn't like that. So Apple has intentionally snubbed Epic by going with Unity. But here's the thing, in my opinion, Unity isn't even a tenth of the platform that the Unreal Engine is. So you could potentially see something where Epic is able to team up with other headsets. And like for instance, if Facebook did a deal with Epic and then they started doing really crazy stuff with it, and the creation tools alone would put them over the top, that sort of a thing. If people were actually going to go into VR, which I don't think they will, but so if you're interested in playing in that space, that's a dynamic that's useful to know about, right? And Unity is a stock. I don't. Epic is not. Epic has a large portion of it is owned by the Chinese, though. Sean Tuffy, makes sense that CZ is trying to Twitter post his way through it. I mean, it worked out for Sam Bankman-Fried and Do Kwon. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, bids are really layering at the lows in ZN, says Uzi. Yeah, I noticed that as well. Like, there's 3Ks at pretty much every step up on the bids. So like a general increase in the liquidity is often a good sign that a large player is at work. I'm not so sure about this particular situation, though. Something else I'm noticing, though, is that there was quite a bit of selling in the 5-year and into bid icebergs. I don't know. Without knowing why we sold, it's kind of hard to... I don't know. I kind of feel like that the current interest rates are probably, like, from a valuation perspective, I think that you keep current interest rates there. And are we seeing something right now that suggests that there should be buying or selling in the treasuries? I'm not seeing that. And so to see that strong move down, clearly they had a reason, but I don't know what it is. It makes me likely to just stay out. You are seeing some absorption in the ES here. They're trying to pull it out here. The deltas look mostly positive over there. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, even though there was a little bit of a sell at the beginning, the last 2 bars have been positive cumulative deltas. Oh wow. Whoa, did I just like miss something? Wow, they traded. I feel like I only looked away for a second and they traded 5K down through there. Well, so they didn't trade 3000s on all of those. So maybe we should have been suspicious of those bids. Yeah, it looks like the 5-year selling has continued through and has dragged the other ones with them. And what are we seeing over here in micros? Back to 372. Not moving that much, but it does look like you're getting more. Yeah. Oh, stop run. Wow. Are we seeing a move in the dollar with this? Yes, we are. Japanese yen is getting crushed. Gold is getting crushed. Wow. I was thinking about 3725, but I really hate being, you know, like buying the high, right? But they continue through for a little bit. Okay, so there's a back tick. That was a really fast, fast flush, wasn't it? There was some real short covering on that one. Or not short covering. There was some stops. There were some real stops. Alligator surprise rate hike by RBI. Central bank still hawkish. Okay. So we should note that we are coming into the single runs from yesterday. That's right where we're bouncing at. So this area from about 22 to 16 was kind of the move from yesterday. And notice when there's no important economic news on the dollar, the equity market is in ranging or distribution mode. Well, I would say it's more likely to range, yes. I mean, again, it comes back to what's driving the flows, right? So if there are economic news, then that's something to drive flows. But that doesn't have to be the only thing that can drive flows, right? You covered, huh? That was quite that was quite an interesting run. I don't like getting in. Well, so when you get a move like that, of course I start looking at it and go like, oh, you know, can I take a trade? But I don't really like getting involved in those sorts of things because that can kind of create the vacuum, right? US confirms all Tesla Model 3 vehicles now qualify for $7,500 electric vehicle tax credit, according to government website. Yeah, without any real sight into what's driving it, I'm just going to take it and be thankful. Yeah. No, I think that when you see a stop run like that, that taking profits is the appropriate thing to do, especially if you don't know why, right? Because the stylized behavior of markets suggests that a move like that can make price get stuck and or possibly lead to a reversal, right? So I'm gonna have to really know what's driving that flow and really strongly believe that there is a lot more selling orders coming in order for me to hold. What is this world? Oh, I'm not sure. Do I not have my news clock on again? No, I have it on. I'm not hearing anything at the moment, though. See, it's already starting to do it right here. Like, look at the chart. Seriously, ask yourself, like, how do you go from this to this so quickly, right? Well, that's the liquidity hole, because it's right there. They get stuck. There's no liquidity there. There's no liquidity there, and all these people wanting to trade into it, and they just kind of get stuck in the middle. And you followed from the... Oh, so you weren't in it very long then either, were you? You must have taken like maybe 25? Oh, no, you might have been able to have gotten as high as 27, actually. Wow. Wow. Well, so we're not seeing a drop in liquidity in the order book there. So yeah, it can be really subtle, but look right now. Let's see. Okay, so now it's 821, but for a second it was only 200, 500. See, like as soon as anybody hits it, it goes to 200, right? So that is actually exactly what I'm looking for, right? Is that the market makers are shy about holding it in that location. That's a pretty darn good trade for 5 minutes, man. Okay, now it's equalizing out a little bit, but you know, it's just kind of like watch it as it trades. Okay, not a strong offer. Okay, stacks up. A lot of orders pulled there at 21.5. So it looks like that the market makers are kind of pulling, but that there's still volume. There's still like cross asset correlations, and so they're continuing to push through. So with this move, this one you've got to be particularly cautious, because this is often like the further flush that snaps back up to 22.5, right? Problem is still, we don't know what's driving the flow. Clearly somebody is really adamant about selling it. Man, I don't know. I was looking at 372 and I was like, oh, I think I might get better than that. Too late now. If I show you 100 lots in ZN and you don't want to lift it, what does that tell us? Well, it just says that you don't want to get in a position. But so like, that's the thing, is like, I think some of these things don't necessarily mean what we want them to, right? Because first of all, the big thing and the reason why it's kind of useless to try and predict these unless you really know something that's going to drive the flows, right? Is that new market orders can come in and overwhelm anything, right? If somebody needs to sell like 60,000 contracts, it doesn't matter that there's 3,000 there, right? There's 3,000 there. That's just like, oh, great. That's, you know, 3,000 less that I have to sell now, right? Okay. So if he puts up 200 and he doesn't hit it, does that mean that the sellers are done? It could mean that the seller is just waiting for the liquidity to recover, right? That's 200 and you're like, well, if you're selling, you don't want to sell into that because you're just going to move the market more. So you back off, right? So this is why you will see it sit at a certain level for like several minutes. Something about that bid stack made you think that they expected to get filled? I don't know. I mean, that's not necessarily the way that we would read it normally, is it? Because very often you start seeing this, you know, you move up a little bit and the bids stack up all behind it, you know. Sometimes that's the beginning of a strong trend, right? But I did kind of feel like, yeah, you think market's front running it, that didn't come. And like in this situation, it was, I think, particularly suspect, right? Because when you said that, I was kind of like, well, I wish I had said different things, because my thinking at the time was kind of like, well, I don't necessarily care because I'm worried about this being a quiet market, right? But like that's the interesting thing about it to me, is that the person that's executing, he can play it any way that he wants, right? Like he can come in and he can hard market sell it, right? But he can also be slow and be on the offer, right? He can try and put big bids or big offers, or he could do any number of things to try and make us think that something's going to happen in order to try and generate activity, right? And the thing is that it doesn't, like, okay, so you come in and you manipulate it. What would be the manipulation he can do that best helps him sell and get the best price for his selling, right? Well, the best thing for him is to not hit the liquidity too much, is really what it comes down to, right? So all of these other games don't really actually tell you what's going to happen. But if you know what's going to happen, and then you start seeing the games, like contextually, it all ends up fitting together, you know? What way that tells us if the market orders are hitting prices to spot? Well, yeah, but by that point it's too late, right? Like that was the whole thing. Is when you took the trade, it was relatively quiet. We were up quite a bit. We had a really strong recovery, and there was really strong bids underneath of us. Then it looks like second leg of meta order or something like that just popped up out of nowhere. And then you started to see that, right? Then it started to be like, the orders pulled, they hit it anyways. They took out like 5K all in succession and kept going. When I saw that they had taken out 5K all in succession and like it was going really fast towards the low, probably should have gotten in and tried to get like 10 bucks out of it, huh? Pretty spectacular for a no news Tuesday though, right? And that further move down was definitely a stop run. Like, how much was that actually? Okay, so like from when price started to move down, it's 83 to 70, so 13K. Then this one, 78 to 67. That was about 11K. That's still a lot. But the decline in cumulative delta was much more aggressive that time. So there had to have been like stops. You can see the repercussions of this during pre-market and afternoon hours. I really wonder what it's going to end up doing later in the day, but is this going to be one that just dies out, or will it keep going all day? And when we don't really know why it's moving, the dislocations and so forth tend to persist for longer, right? Close your short, so logic would dictate it's gonna collapse all day, right? What I find interesting also is how much of a reversal this is from yesterday, right? So I'm still worried about the potential snapback to 22.5. Yeah. Well, and usually the play on this that I'm not saying that this is like a viable strategy or that we have evidence to suggest that this works, but the way that we would trade this when we were trading the single prints is that it will continue until it's gone through all of them, and that you'll probably see a reaction at 16, but that it'll probably keep going, right? Interesting order showing up at 21.5 now. Well, so it looks like they built another hole briefly. Look, they're pushing into new levels again. There's another half a basis point. Man. Just sitting here and watching it move on a trend like that can be awfully frustrating, right? I really should have taken the 372. That last move down, though, doesn't move me. I'm still concerned about it possibly snapping back to 22.5. Yeah, not a lot of delta. Kind of disorganized delta since that stop run. Divergence with the price? Maybe. It kind of looks to me like there's still pretty excessive selling, but that it's running into that square root law kind of behavior. Oh, is there news? Oh, somebody's going to call me here. So somebody's supposed to call me. I'm just going to turn the microphone and the video off when that happens. I think it should be pretty quick. Jim Iorio seems like someone with deeper pockets than me has joined this trade. At 8:20, the NASDAQ got hit, and at 8:30, the Russell got lifted well. The and was still being sold. So I'll still be here, but I'll not be speaking for a moment because I told somebody wanted to meet with me, and I told them, oh, anytime before like 2 Eastern time. And so they picked like the very first thing in the morning. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, whoa. This is a big story. Chris Christie to enter GOP presidential race as chief Trump antagonist. Reports the Wall Street Journal. So I was not expecting this. The information I had suggests that he was unlikely to enter the race. That's going to be interesting. Are they going to do anything about that big order at 113.20? Yeah, Canadian IVPMI actual 53.5 versus a 56.8. Usually the market doesn't move too much on that. I can think of once or twice where it really moved on Canadian PMI, but let's see here. The minimum tick in corn is 12.50. Okay, so sorry about that, and that took a little bit longer than I wanted it to too, but so it looks like we've stayed in this area this whole time, right? There was some spoofs. There was some sell orders showing up in here that were stacking up, but then they didn't actually end up trading that much volume there. Did Russell take off? Well, yeah. Now the S&P 500 really took off. The treasuries are still sitting down there, but the S&P 500 really took off. I didn't see any kind of news or anything to continue driving us. Oh, and let's bring back up your Coinbase. Coinbase has been up the whole time. I really think that Coinbase and cryptocurrency are taking this well. Although I would be cautious about, I don't know if that means you should buy any of these things, because there could be more to come, right? That might not be all the SEC and regulatory industries have in their back pocket. MNI policy, Fed to consider shift to inflation target band. Joseph Wang tweets, instead of raising our inflation target, what if we just widen a, quote, target band? Yeah. Because in the end, in order to deal with our current debt problems, the Federal Reserve basically has no choice but to inflate the debt away, right? So, before I left, you guys were talking about, you know, corn and cattle and stuff. So this is a, you know, it all kind of comes down to the same sort of a thing, right? Which is like, what are the future orders going to be? Now, in the agriculture markets, let's say when you're getting into more hard commodities, you can kind of do a little bit more research work on the future supply and demand sorts. So you can come in and you can say, okay, here's like every report or every point at which like inventory is measured, right? And what do we expect it to be? And you can make estimates at each one of those months or whatever it is, and you can list out what your assumptions are going to be, and then based on that information, put together a price, right? So if I was doing more like corn, that's the sort of thing that I would probably be trying to do, right? But that means you have to know a lot about the corn market, right? So I don't know a whole lot about the corn market. I bet you that if I was spending as much time trying to learn about the corn market as I've spent learning about the treasuries market, then maybe I would. But, you know, that's one that it comes down to, is that, you know, if you're going to switch over to a commodity, okay, just know that means becoming an expert in how much corn is being grown in the United States and what the crop is looking like this year and all that sort of stuff, right? That's not necessarily easy information to come by. I wonder with those big spoofs if that was, well, but this move up is not really being accompanied by any significant delta, so we're still, I'm concerned that we will come back to the 3.72, but after that, you know, where would we go? Bitcoin is actually jumping now. It is actually higher than it was before the SEC news, which I think is a little suspect. Hindenburg hit somebody else, huh? Mayor Adams wants to pay New Yorkers to host migrants in their homes? What? Oh man. I don't think that one's going to go the way that he thinks it will, because the closer that you get to, you know, the burdens that come with, you know, mass immigration, the less support people will have for it. Perhaps shares of Tingo Group, TIO, should change their ticker symbol to NGMI, because that seems to be the prevailing sentiment this morning after short seller Hindenburg Research released a report calling the company a worthless and brazen fraud that should serve as a humiliating embarrassment for all involved. Shares were down nearly 50%. Oh my gosh. The claims in the report are astonishing, with Hindenburg taking shots at the company's founder Dozy Mombosi and calling its financials fabricated. We've identified major red flags with Dozy's background. For starters, he appears to have fabricated his biographical claim to have developed the first mobile payment app in Nigeria. We contacted the app's actual creator, who called Dozy's claims a pure lie. We strongly suspect Tingo's cash balance, which it conveniently claims is held in Nigeria, is fake. The company collected only 12% of the interest income one would expect from its claimed cash balances. They continue. The report takes exception with Tingo's financials, indicating it believes the numbers are fake. I don't know if we care too that much about it. Hindenburg concludes, overall, we think Tingo is a worthless and brazen fraud that should serve as a humiliating embarrassment for all involved. We do not expect the company will be long for this world. Okay, there was obviously some grammatical spelling mistake in there. We do not expect the company will be long for this world. Okay. In 50% though, that's something else. Okay, so let's reset the treasuries here a little bit. So this is, I mean, it took a lot longer than I thought, but this is what I was worried about, right? Is that it snaps back to 22.5. And look, you're kind of getting the low resting liquidity sort of thing, just a little bit of it. Just a little bit. look at the offer on ES. Yes, well, I don't know. They've kind of been chilling here for a little bit. I don't see anything too unusual over there. That stop run kind of come out of nowhere, but other than that, I'm not seeing anything too interesting. Tick. Sell Delta with price climbing, sandbaggers eating up the market offers. So I'm not seeing the sell Delta. There is some iceberging, but the net market order balance is still to the buy side. Overall, though, it does suggest strong buying, doesn't it? And it's been doing so the whole time too. That's kind of the weird thing about this one, is that the cumulative delta, if I can make this big for you guys, cumulative delta has been moving higher this entire time, despite the initial downturn in the S&P 500. So that does look pretty strong indeed. And I would also add that they kind of defended a key gamma level at 4270. If they had been able to hold meaningfully below 4270, that might have turned into something more. But they didn't have it in them. I guess what you're seeing there in ES suggests that they could have plenty more orders to come. What I'm seeing in the in the treasuries is, okay, so that's a pullback. If I was looking for a third leg, 22.5 I think would be a great spot. It's not giving me 3.72, unfortunately. And again, I'm still unsure about what's driving the price down, what's driving the orders, and ergo uncertain about whether there would be a third leg, right? That delta is determined by the book, by looking at the best bid, best offer. Mm-hmm. King Jeffries, we saved America from the extreme right-wing plot to crash the economy. They are wasting time in a phony effort to save kitchen appliances. No, because they are trying to ban gas stoves. Come on. We're testing a market maker type setup. Put a 2-lot everywhere. There is an MBO fighting the down move. Big drawdown, but plus on the day. Really? I mean, do you back test it first? Something I've been finding from a lot of people lately is, as it looks like the retail space is kind of evolving, and so I have seen a lot of people on Reddit, for instance, like forward testing things because they don't think that their past, that their back tests were very reliable. The issue with the forward test, though, is like you forward test it forever, and then when it doesn't work, you just lose all that time. That's the problem that I had with it. That's why I just stopped doing it. I was like, I'm gonna wait until I have historical data, that I've developed my own historical data that is sufficient sufficient to actually test it. Basically give me historical level 2. Oh man, I saw there was some messages from several days ago that I missed. Wow, what? 1 person wounded in road rage incident in Davis County. Oh my. UHP received reports of a person on a motorcycle brandishing a gun while traveling north on the interstate near Layton Hills Mall. Ouch. Followed by reports that shots had been fired. The victim was taken to the hospital for injuries that are not life-threatening. That's nuts. According to UHP, Rodney Michael Salm, 48 years old, of Salt Lake City, and his passenger, Michaela Himmelberger, 47, of Holiday, were completely uninvolved in the road rage incident until the truck crashed into their car, killing them. Whoa. The truck driver, whose name has not been released, was taken to a hospital. That is so insane. Ireland plans to cull 200. Dude, the stuff going on in Europe related to farming and climate change is just absolutely bat poop crazy. It's just so crazy. Especially all that stuff that was happening in the Netherlands. It's like, you want people to starve, don't you? Do these people really understand? Do they really look through these policies all the way and understand the implications of their policies? Is that the intention, or do they just not care? I don't get it. I'm very concerned by what I see as elite plutocrats, setting up policies like these that will affect the quality of life and possibly even lead to starvation in poor people. You got this group of people that are completely insulated from the effects of their policies, and so you're going to end up with tone deaf policy, right? I mean, that's one of the big things I've kind of learned here at the end of the day, is that unless you're like directly involved, it's kind of hard to make proper. It's hard to make proper decisions for other people, because like your thinking about it is simply different when it doesn't really affect you. I mean, they're trying to bring that sort of stuff to the United States, but it's like it's just rampant over there in Europe. Super crazy. Well, the treasuries did move back up to that 22.5, but now it's gone dead again. So, and that's probably the end of our session. So I think I've done a pretty good job. Of course, I didn't see that they were going to just all of the sudden out of nowhere push to new lows. I really want to know what was driving that flow. Was it really just a meta order? There was a second leg, and because of the way that it played out, it freaked everybody out extra or something. I just it was a little bit out of the blue, more out of the blue than usual, especially on a no news Tuesday. But the liquidity has definitely been acting like it's a no news Tuesday, right? Like they don't necessarily want to take on a ton of orders and mess with things, because they know that the opportunity to make it back later is not as good. Oh, hey, you know what? That reminds me. For you guys looking for a new squawk, one of the things was that Financial Juice had a lifetime subscription, and then that was only available for a short time, and it went away. Well, they have a deal going on. I don't know how long it goes for. I think it's only like the next 2 weeks, but they have a deal going on that brings the lifetime subscription back to the original price. So you can get the lifetime subscription for $1,000. That is an absolute steal, right? When you consider I did that, I spent $1,000 at the very, very beginning, and I've been using it now for like 4 or 5 years, I think, right? I've saved like $4,000, on what I would have spent on a new squawk, and I get the new squawk service, which has revolutionized my trading. So if you don't have a new squawk and you're interested in spending on that, you're dedicated, I would definitely look at that. And there's an affiliate link in the video description. But I had a number of times where when people decided to get the new squawk and they wanted to do that, and then it wasn't available. What do you mean? Can you post it for a session? So sometimes I forget to turn it off and you can hear what they're saying. But if you just go to their website, if you go to Financial Juice, they have a delayed version of it. And their delayed version is not that delayed. Their delayed version is only delayed by like 30 seconds or something like that. So, yeah. If you're interested in seeing what it's like, I would go do that. So I'm just noting here a strange divergence between the Treasury and the 6J. The 6J just pushed down to new lows and the Treasuries are still sitting here. So I probably shouldn't. Go to watch it on your live stream, but it's nothing to watch. It's just you hear it, right? You hear it. So if you loaded up the website and you started streaming it on their delayed stream, you would probably get it at the same time as if you got it from me restreaming it. Right. So me streaming it wouldn't get it to you faster because, you know, the YouTube stream adds like, you know, 3 to 5 seconds of latency. So like where you want to use the news squawk is like you want to know what the number was exactly as it hits, for instance, or the news headline exactly as it hits, rather than like a minute or two later, which is what happens without it. So. Six J just reversed that new move. Closed your ES long too early. Dude, the equity strength is kind of getting a little bonkers, right? Do you think they'll see 4,300? I just really like I have a hard time understanding how they can be buying it so hard when the prediction is still recession in the second half of the year and liquidity drain, you know? Especially in a day where interest rates rose. You know? Well, we are below 3.72 now, so you know that one spot that I looked at where I could have participated, I would be underwater right now if I hadn't taken profits. And I would have only have made $10-15. So I totally made the right call. It's kind of funny, you'll always find a way to justify that you made the right call when you don't take a trade. Right? But I do feel like I have a really good feel for the yin and yang of the treasury market these days. You know? I might not always have the direction right, but it's very rare now. Let's not say it's very rare, but it's much less common than it was for me to get like stuck in this trade that goes nowhere for an hour, you know, that sort of a thing. Not as susceptible to that because I understand so much more about the market and why that happens. Well, I guess before we go, let's just go and back and do a quick survey of the market, see if there's any more news. Do you see a story about it's on Zero Hedge that it was Kiev's plan to blow up the Kakova Dam? I'd be super suspicious about any kind of information at the moment about who did it. And I do feel like that Zero Hedge tries to play stooge for the Russians sometimes. Stunning move, PGA Tour and Saudi-baked Live Golf agreed to merge. Wow, okay. Interesting. S&P, yeah, S&P doesn't seem like it's slowing down at all, does it? RTY is up 2%. You know, I'm kind of pissed that like I had that Sumo Logic stock and those fucking idiots literally sold at the lows, right? Like they sold, stock goes dead, then the tech rally comes back. They'd probably be like close, you know, they'd probably at least be before they were at 10, I think 10 to 13, and I bet you they could be back to 13 to 16 by now. And freaking management idiots. And then I've been sitting here like, oh, I don't know if I should get back into something, you know, like the tech went up so fast, any of the techs that I was interested in getting into already moved. And I'm still worried about there's supposed to be a recession. You know, I should look at Northrop because, you know, apparently aliens are actually a thing. And I think that Northrop has a, or they've been doing poorly, haven't they? Maybe there's a value play there. Let's see. NOC. So we need to come back to a daily chart. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that's still high compared to like say 2020. So I don't know if that of valuation is a very good one. Back to 22.5 again. Has a high level of debt. Profit margins are lower than last year's. Significant insider selling over the last 3 months. Recent insider transactions. The most recent was a sell. I don't know if that one makes sense. What about Lockheed Martin? They have a dividend. Still selling over. Oh, actually, maybe not as bad. Well, there's a lot more activity over there, but I would love to see one of these where there was like insider buying recently, but the only other one would be Boeing, right? But Boeing has been a shit show lately, right? Interest payments are not well covered by earnings. Oh boy. Earnings are forecast to grow 50% year over year? Really? Raytheon, maybe. Raytheon seems a little bit more healthy of a company. Not much in the way of insider transactions over there. It's also sell. This one's a little better. Interesting that Boeing actually kind of looks like the more healthy one, even though Boeing has been savaged. I don't know, man. You were talking about like 94 to 87, and I kind of feel like it's like we're just playing noise over here in ES, right? Like in a market that is up 20 points. Take a quarter of that range. I guess it's not terrible. Anyways, it's time for me to get going, guys. So I will leave the title be Coin Savaged as SEC sues Coinbase. But it was mostly a recovery today. So, but I will see you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, stay excellent.